May I have your attention, please? The podcast World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment, is now on the air. May I have your attention, please? The podcast World Awakenings is now on the air.
This is World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with your host, Carl Gruber. World Awakenings is a podcast dedicated to opening your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to all things metaphysical and spiritual, and just how they play an all-important role in our daily life. So join Carl on this enlightening experience as he interviews metaphysical and spiritual experts to discuss, debate, and delve deeply into the hows and whys of this worldwide awakening.
We welcome you to the World Awakenings podcast. Before we start, we'd like to tell you about a special ebook written by the show's host, Carl Gruber. The 3 Pillars, a simple 3-step process to manifest positive and permanent change in your life. The concise 32-page 3 Pillars ebook will teach you how to become a successful and consistent co-creator of your life path with the law of attraction. Yes, you can manifest the life you truly desire, and the ebook is absolutely free. Simply go to Carl's website, carlgruberlifecoach.com. That's KARLGRUBER lifecoach.com. Click on the header title About Me and get the free download today. Carl Gruber's free ebook, The 3 Pillars, will positively change your life.
All right, welcome back, my friends, to the World Awakenings, the Fast Track to Enlightenment podcast. I'm your host, Carl Gruber, and this is episode number 57 of this show that I started in June 2018, in which we have been blessed to chat one-on-one with some of the world's greatest teachers and purveyors of all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening. In a world that is engulfed in chaos, conflict, judgment, and outright attack, this show is one of the very few outlets you can come to for a truly enlightening, delightful, and truly informative experience. Now, before we meet our guest for today, please take a moment to click on that subscribe button below, which will greatly help to keep this show going. Well, today we check in with Ruth Hermida, who is an expert in working with physical diseases, inflammation, and allergies. In other words, basically any conditions that manifest physically in a negative manner in your body. The important difference in Ruth's healing work is that she works directly through Source Creator God to help her clients identify their truth. Well, that's awesome, Ruth. Welcome so much to World Awakenings. Thanks for being here.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me on here. This is such a delight. So excited to have these conversations. So
yeah, and I think we can have a great conversation, but I'm going to just dive in this. From what I've read about you, this is the first time we've met just here on virtually. I know that you spent 20 years in the medical field, but what you're doing today with your clients is like nothing any medical doctor does. What do you do? What did you do in the medical field, and how did you discover you had these energy healing abilities?
Well, I've been a dental hygienist for over 20 years. And, working in the medical field, I loved learning science. I loved learning about the body and how the body works on all levels, down to, the microscopic, us in the science world, the microscopic level. But really, I came across so many blocks, working with my patients and trying to create health in their body and seeing diseases. And a lot of my patients would come back to me over and over with, all these medications they were on and all these things they were dealing with. That was, the mouth is just one manifestation of how the body represents itself. There's so many things we can see just looking in the mouth, diseases wise. So I just got to so many blocks. And then I really, I kind of went through my whole spiritual awakening, and I started to notice my patients and feel their bodies, and I could feel where they were having pain in their body. I knew things, before they were coming in my chair. And I started, I was kind of being pretty much like a medical intuitive. I knew things that were going on pretty much. And that's when I started to just dive down the rabbit hole and, really starting to understand the body and diseases specifically, and inflammation and allergies and all those sort of things on a very, that quantum realm, working with energy and working with, and I'm a very spiritual being. So I, connecting in with our creator source energy, and everybody has that. And a lot of us have turned that off. So, so that's pretty much, I guess that's kind of what how I've gotten down this road of being in the, working with the body, and love working with the body. I absolutely, it's my passion. And so
yeah. Well, so you've already touched on a number of topics that this show has looked at closely over the last couple years here. So I'm curious, your own spiritual awakening, were you like that as a child? Was this an evolving process for you into your adulthood? How did it come about?
Well, so I've always been very intuitive. I'm always been very sensitive, and I've always connected into spirits. When I was a child, I, had multiple experiences with the spiritual realm. And a lot of times, while sleeping or in that like theta brainwave state, or, when you're kind of in and out of sleep, and I've just always connected into that energy.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up and moving through life and stuff like that, and going through challenges, I've always been spiritual and stayed spiritual, but I've turned off my abilities because of fear. And I think a lot of people do that because they have experiences in the spiritual realm that might be scary to them and might have scared them from wanting to go there. And so I kind of turned it off, and I pretty much was like, I don't want to be there. I want to feel like I'm in control of my life. And I felt very out of control if I went there. So I guess it pretty much, and then I had my spiritual awakening probably in my mid to late 30s. And I had an experience with having a lot of, I was having a lot of struggles going on. I had just had my 2 children, and I was a new mom, and I had a lot of stresses in life. And it was probably that, like, when they say a lot of times when you go through spiritual awakening, it can be stress induced.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what happened. And I was in a, massive fight with somebody, and I, all of a sudden, like, all the electricity started like buzzing in my house. My piano started to buzz, and it turned on, and the lights were flickering. And I was just like, that was because the energy was just like intensified. And I just like ran upstairs, and I was like, okay, I need to meditate and like find my center and what's going on. And that's when it just like, the energy just started, I had that Kundalini. It was just the energy just started going up, and it just burst out. And I was like, boing, it was open. And then I went into work the next day with that open. And I was like, why am I hearing things like from my patients, in the other room? And why do I feel them? And why am I, feeling the doctor like in patient, it's just all this crazy stuff. So that's when I was like, I need to learn about this and understand how to control it and find my own peace within it. And so
a spiritual experience that led you to become hypersensitive to your own energy and the energies around you. And that stayed with you and has morphed into what you're doing today. Wow. That is cool.
Yeah.
That is really great.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you, I read that you talk about helping people suffering from a physical malady and helping them to discover their truth. What exactly does that mean, discovering their truth?
So a lot of the healing work, a lot of, the spiritual world and stuff like that, it's, we're trying to heal our bodies, and we can sit in that mode of heal, heal, heal. And we can get down these like rabbit holes of like, you're feeling like you're stuck and you're getting pulled down and you're never good enough. And
Mhm.
it's like this feeling, we're always trying to fix the disease. We're always trying to fix who we are. And finding your truth is really about understanding, we need to have that focus of where we really want to move towards, because we can do the healing work, but our body needs to understand where we want to go, and where that emotion, where we, our focus kind of, I'm sure doing coaching and stuff like that too, it's very similar. You're looking towards that intention and where you want your body to be. And so it's really about helping my clients understand what their truth is and their intention of where they want to become and where they want to move their body towards. Because if you're trying to heal a disease and then you keep, you can clear out a bunch of stuff, but if you don't teach your body how to know what it's like to be health and vitality, or to be not have that disease anymore, you can recreate it. And so it's really important to teach the body. And so I guess the truth in teaching my clients their truth is really about understanding how to step out of the, a lot of us think our truth is like trying to move away from our problems, or
Mhm.
move away from something that's painful from them. But whenever we are moving away from something, we're always entangled with what like that thing we're actually moving away from. And we actually keep, we always end up bouncing back to it, and we get like entangled with it. So it's really understanding and coming from a place of like neutrality, and really coming from that truth, being in that truth factor, right? Knowing what is your truth, but not from a place of trying to heal an old wound, or moving away from something you don't want, or it's really stepping into your truth. So like, for instance, I'll give an example. Like if somebody feels like they are overweight, right? Or they
Mhm.
don't feel good about their body maybe, and they're trying to lose weight. Well, they're going to go out and they're going to try to move away from their problem, move away from their weight. But then in reality, they're not really creating what they really want. They may just try to be fixing this problem. And so I really help my clients identify their real truth of what they really do want, and then going into the healing with that, and going into creating harmony within the body, basically.
I think
So
everything you said there is right in alignment with the old line, unless you change yourself, nothing around you is going to change. The world will
yeah.
change. And so, I mean, if you have problems when you live in Boston and you think by moving to San Diego, you're going to get away from those problems, if unless you make that interchange you're talking about, those same problems just you attract the same people, attract the same situations, that type of thing. And I mean, honestly, you and I both know so many people like that, and you and I probably have done that ourselves in our own lives. So
Well, that's so spot on, because that's exactly what happened when I moved out to California. It was like, who you are, there you are. It's like this thing I was manifesting and recreating the same identity, thinking that California was going to be this amazing place, and I could, it's all laid back and it's got this and this, and it really wasn't. I was, plopping myself back into, you know, maybe in a different environment, yes, but my body and my parts of me, of who I am, my identity of who I am was, still who it is. And it's really, it's really truly understanding your, I've worked with quite a few clients that, it's so hard to get out of that thinking of like, trying to create, these new things in the body and really being, recreating things over and over. So
Well, so my understanding is that, that you do energy healing by peeling away layers of untruths that led to the person's physical issues in the first place. What kind of energy are you working with when you do this, and what kind of issues are you working with?
Yeah, so I use my own source energy. I've been working with the modality energetic allergy healing, which I have found has worked really, really. I can't even tell you the changes I've seen in my own body, and then working with my family and my clients. But truly, it's really about connecting into source energy. It's always going into creator. Why tap into something? We know that source energy is the highest and the purest. I'm all about finding, the purest energies. Oh, sorry, I thought something.
That's all right.
Sorry, my computer just froze up. So I'm all about going into the purest source energy and really connecting in there and I kind of see it as like a triangle. So if it's source energy here, and then I connect into my higher self and my client connects into their higher self, it creates this like pyramid of us working together, and they're using their own source energy and their creator self, and I'm using my creator self. And it's just me being there to help and assist them. But it's really, my work, it's really working on all levels. Like we go in and, like you said, like clearing out like the layers upon layers that, we may hold on to, but sometimes it's as simple as finding that root thing that's just going on. And it's just that one little thing that unlocks the key that really helps the client unlock that disease or that manifestation, whatever's being created in their body to unlock. And it's pretty amazing how I've seen that happen. And sometimes, especially working with like autoimmune diseases and things that are really deeply rooted, it takes much, much more to unravel.
I think what you're doing, tapping into source energy, the highest level form of energy. In other words, you're tapping into all that is. This show's viewers and listeners are, if they've been pretty regular with the show, understand that. Most of these viewers, I know it's new to a lot of people, but everything is energy. I told you earlier, I'm a certified law of attraction life coach, and that is one of the things that we learn immediately about understanding the law of attraction. Everything is energy. Everything vibrates, and if you're vibrating in a low frequency, that's usually where the the physical issues come and everything. But I do want to ask you, when you work with a client, what are some of the biggest spiritual issues that you see with your clients that cause blockages that lead to dis-ease? I like to call it dis-ease, which it is, but what are some of those?
So it's mainly what I see is their spiritual disconnect. And so, so there's a lot, but there can be, spiritually wise, what I have seen is them not being able to, blocking it off. And so a lot of times we create these beliefs about who creator, God, whatever you may call it, this, one source, this whatever you see as this highest form of creation, right? And a lot of times we create wounds around this. And so it's working with kind of dismantling some of those wounds we have created in the past, where we see creator outside of us. We see us here and we see creator, somewhere out there. We don't have this idea, we've disconnected from that idea that creator and God's source is within us. And a lot of times that goes with, when we have trauma and, maybe we grow up in like a religious family or religious household, and it's like this God becomes this like judgmental and this like father figure that's like, suppressing and like has a lot of like, blame and shame kind of things. And we disconnect and we shut off our God source or our creator source because of that, because we've see that out there. So that, that's one of the things I see. And that I see a lot with like the autoimmune issues, because autoimmune a lot of times is like, it's around like attacking the self. It's like the body is like internalizing everything, and it's attacking its own body. That's what autoimmune diseases are. And the other thing I see a lot with the spiritual realm, I see a lot of like past life stuff, and then ancestral trauma that we hold on to. There's a lot of ancestral trauma, especially even with diseases with, even gluten allergies. I've seen it with people in the fields, like working in the wheat fields maybe, and who have created this trauma energy around, wheat and gluten. And, there's a lot of, wheat was the highest source of, one of the first foods we ate here. And, they found it just randomly, here on this earth, out of nowhere, which, of course, it got planted somehow, right? Yeah. So, and it's been modified so many times. And I think our bodies, through that trauma and through some past life trauma, dealing with those sort of past life issues with wheat and stuff like that. I've seen, some of that come up in my work as well. So, it's basically pretty much just like those past life things that I've seen and our God source connection and stuff like that.
So what you brought up here is we have almost 8 billion people on the planet right now. And what you brought up, saying that most, if not all, disease or physical issues are rooted in disconnection with our spiritual connection to source. Well, that means that probably a vast majority of the world is undergoing that problem, right? Those problems right now. And fortunately, through shows like this, and there's a million podcasts or more in the world, and there's so many beautiful shows like this one too, that information is being spread more and more, and beautiful energy workers and light workers like you are helping. So there's more and more of that. But so the bottom line is, all physical maladies are rooted in spiritual blockages. Am I correct?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that. The way I see it is, well, everything is spiritual. Well, yeah, everything has a spiritual component, right? And we are multidimensional beings. So diseases and allergies and inflammation, I see it as multidimensional as well. Mm-hmm. So there's many different layers about it. And that's how, when I work with my clients, that's what I work on all levels. So I work with the physical realm. I work with the mental, emotional, belief systems. There's tons around belief systems with beliefs that we hold around our body and that we've created in this lifetime and past lifetimes, ancestral belief systems that hold us entangled within these diseases. And then there's the spiritual aspect of it. So when I work with my clients, we really work to peel away at the many layers, because diseases are, or for instance, I'll give an example. For instance, like an allergy, right? So one of the ways, there's many, many, many ways we may create an allergy in the body. But this is one of the things I explain to my patient. If they're sitting at the dinner table, for instance, they're a little child, they're sitting at the dinner table eating a bunch of foods, and then, there's like the AC is running out, in the house, and there's like different energies going on because everything, or actually, let me back up a second, because and I think a lot of people listening to this already know this, but I'll just kind of point it out. But like everything has its own energetic signature. So our organ, every atom, every cell, every organ, every system in the body, the lymphatic system, the circulatory system, our body as a whole has its own energetic signature. Everything has its own energetic signature. And so do diseases. They are compiled of these energetic signatures that are held together. And so, say, for instance, we're sitting at the dinner table eating, and, we have all these energy signatures coming in. We're eating these foods in our body, and then we have something going on outside. And then all of a sudden, our parents are in front of us and they're fighting. And right, as a child, you start creating those belief systems. You create that belief that, I'm not good enough, or there's, people dying in poor countries that have nothing to eat, and, whatever it may be, you start creating these belief systems, and it actually creates a package of resistance energy within your body. It's like the Pavlov's dog, kind of. So your body creates this internal resistance, and it may be attached to those vital nutrients you're eating, all those, things that are coming into your body. So you're actually creating this resistance energy within your body, and it's it's attached to this food. And so you wonder why we become allergic to things over time. The more you're exposed to certain things, the more your body is not in harmony. There's higher chances your body can become resistant to them because of these packages of energies that might be coming in at the same time. So I remember one time I was at the doctor's, and I had at one point or all growing up, I had lactose issues, right? And my doctor was like, there's no way you have lactose intolerance. You're Swiss and German. All you eat is cheeses and stuff like that. And I was like, okay. And then, as I learned about this, well, of course that makes sense, because my ancestors, and all these things going back, they've had so many interactions with lactose and traumas, and trauma energy is another huge one that our body, when trauma energy comes in, it creates this massive, blockage of energy that can be attached to the foods and the nutrients, the sun, the vitamin C or, you even think about things coming, the vitamin D, the vitamin D that's coming in from the sun. So even simple things like that, so many of us actually have, have sensitivities to these vital nutrients in our body. So when I work with my clients, I really work from the foundational level to help their body kind of start in that foundational level to build up their building blocks of their body, so they can start on that level, that cellular or the energetic level, working through the cellular level to rebuild their body so that things work more properly. And start functioning
so
more
you
properly.
touched on some interesting things. So let's just grab onto food allergies. From where I come from, I'm a huge student of A Course in Miracles on that studies pure non-dualistic spirituality, where we are projecting this life and imagining this life, and that we have a deep guilt as essence of which is cause of all the problems in the world, not only our own, but so I interviewed a few times. I've talked. He's become a friend of mine, Gary Renard. He is one of the world's most well-known teachers of A Course in Miracles. In one of his books, he was talking to one of his teachers, and Gary loves chocolate. And he used to break out, and no matter, how old he was, he gets, skin acne and all that. And they finally said, Gary, if you didn't feel guilty when you ate the chocolate, you would have no problem. So there's a paradigm. There's an example of a mental paradigm, a belief that actually causes the body to react. And finally, he just ate chocolate, and he just no longer felt guilt, and he never had another issue with it.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked a little bit with theta healing, and that's a lot about revolves around belief systems, and it's tied in. A lot of times, just unlocking those belief systems, we can really unlock those diseases. And so, like I was, when I was talking before and saying, you just need that one little thing. It's like the base of the root, and you just get that one thing and it just unlocks it all. Sometimes there's many layers, but sometimes, like you said, it's just that belief system that you may be holding around these. And I know I had that for myself getting sick all the time. Some people have these beliefs that they get sick every time they're around other people that are sick. So of course they're going to manifest sickness in their body. Some people have belief systems that they're going to be, they get sick every winter in December. They get sick every month. We create these beliefs around sickness. And I know myself personally, again, I was one of those people. I got sick all the time. I don't know, I can't even think, thinking back to it, it's like amazing on how many times my body would get sick. And I used to think, oh my gosh, I'm around like people all the, working people's mouths all day long. Like you wouldn't think that I would, you'd think my immune system would be boosted by now, but I was just like manifesting my own sicknesses. So it was, we have these belief systems that really, holds these illnesses together.
So when you had your own spiritual awakening, did those illnesses go away?
Well, not necessarily. I did a lot of the work. I guess, I did do a lot of clearing work and a lot of belief system work. And when I started to understand more why I was becoming sick and understanding more on that conscious aspect, I was able to really dive into it more and did a lot of work with myself.
You had to peel those layers away, right?
Yeah. I mean, just working with a lot of those belief systems I held on to and a lot of those things, my body and understanding a lot of it was tied around. I did a little bit of work with some family entanglement stuff. And I was, working with, it's kind of tied back to why I held on to these, obligations of holding on to these diseases in my body of why that was even something I was creating and how that, went back to my family, my parents, and I'm sure, and I know it actually went back much farther than that. So, these sort of things we recreate. It's, you look back in family histories and even in your lineage and you see how certain patterns are recreated over and over and over and over. And I think that's why we're here now on this earth. We're here to break these karmic loops and these loops that we've been recreating over and over within our bodies, within everything, like what we've, our bodies have held on to so much trauma over the years and over the lifetime. And it's really showing. I mean, we can see it in society. And so I'm really about helping people clear out so many of these things so that we can change the generations from our, because we're outside of space and time when we work with all this, and it's changing our generation, is changing my children. I have 2 little kids and changing their life and going backwards too, and even changing, with my ancestors and my family going back.
Well, it's really interesting. I've interviewed twice on podcasts experts in Akashic records, which is called the Library of the Soul. All the records of all of our lifetimes are stored there. And that is where so many of those traumas and paradigms, and unfortunately, we carry it forward to another lifetime and another lifetime. And what you're talking about, just amazing. I interviewed a few months ago Lisa Barnett, who has a book called The Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Field. And wow, yeah, everything you're saying there. But can you imagine if just anybody that we know just had an issue and they go to a regular medical doctor, if they actually did what you do, so much of the illnesses would be gone, instead of, most doctors, and they're trained this way. Oh, you have gluten or you have this allergy, here, take this pill.
Yeah, or to restrict your diet. A lot of these things, it's right now what's going on. There's so much, what's the word I'm trying to think? They're not feeling empowered. Like there's so much disempowerment, right? Because you're relying on, cutting out all these foods from your diet. You're not allowed to eat any more, gluten in your diet anymore. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do, and our bodies, the way I see it is our bodies need to be in harmony with all things. So we're not, we think of so many things as being bad. And when we get into that energy of something being bad and not being in harmony with us, we actually get attached to it. It actually gets entangled, and we create that resistance energy to it. So when we create resistance energy, it actually is more harmful to us. So even like radiation.
That's just exactly like Gary Renard and the chocolate.
Yeah, exactly. He was creating that resistance energy. And I remember I had a patient once, in being in dental hygiene, and she was such a feisty little lady. I mean, she was pretty amazing, but she held on to so much resistance energy. I could feel it in her body. She was anti this, anti that. No toxins, no plastics, no, which is great. I understand there's a place for that, because obviously toxins are bad. They're not great for you. But she held on to so much resistance energy. Her body was so sick. It was so frail. And she was even a therapist, and she used to, she was, and she was kind of what do you call it? Like a conspiracy theorist, she was on everything, which again, to each their own. You can hold, belief systems and, no, we understand things are going on in the world, and we understand that. But when we hold resistance energy, and when we put all of our energy into it, and it's like this place of like, I can't have that. And it's like so bad for me. We actually attach to it, and it creates that resistance in her body. And her body was so sick. I mean, she had so many diseases. Her mouth was a mess. It was just so much stuff was going on. So it's really fascinating on, and this is what I do, is I really create and help my clients create that harmony with all things, and everything resonates. Like I see creator as this ball of like high frequency energy, right? So, and then as it disperses out, it gets more and more dense, right? And these toxins and these like radiation and these lower vibrational energies are out here, but they're still part of the all. They're still part of creator. They're still where everything is part of creator. And so it's understanding that it's still part of us and allowing ourselves to release it. Because the minute we need or want something, it's attached to us. So it's allowing ourselves to be in harmony with it and be able to release it from our bodies and let it go. It's the whole idea of letting it go, as simple as that.
Mm-hmm. Wow, boy, I think most of us in the world have a lot of work to do in that area. But you mentioned quite a while ago, too, you were talking about how as we grow up, we can get particularly religious dogmas and blockages that come in and cause a lot of problems in our life, both physically and mentally and emotionally. I always try to make it clear that there is a total difference between religion and spirituality. True spirituality has nothing to do with religion. Religion is an organized type. It doesn't matter what religion it is, but there's always some great creator up here says, you better do what I say or I'm going to punish you. It's based on guilt and sin and all that. True spirituality is exactly what you're talking about, connected to all that is to source and becoming in vibrational and energetic alignment with it. And that's where the healing comes.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, it's amazing on how, I had my own experience with this myself. I mean, I can speak firsthand. I grew up in a very, repressive, spiritual, disconnected, I mean, I don't even know if I should go into this, but yeah, I had my parents, it was almost Amish. Like I grew up in a very religious household. Like we weren't allowed to have a TV, we had to dress, dresses, skirts, you had to cover your body. But anyways, I had that spiritual disconnect because I always saw God out here. And it was like this, like dogmatic God that was like going to, punish you. You're going to go to hell. If you, did anything wrong, you're going to go to hell. And it was like this scary, out of fear, like you said, you can't do something because it's going to be fearful. And it's sometimes why I connect this sometimes a lot with the masculine energy is because a lot of times too, like that father figure, some of us grow up with can also create that domineering fear-based, listen to me, I'm your father, like that old parenting technique. And I'm sure people maybe still parent this way. But they use that domineering fear-based guilt, shame, judgment, energy, and people attach that to their God. And that's why a lot of times people shut off their connection to God.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I had my own, that was part of my spiritual awakening was when the first time I connected into God, it's gonna make me cry. I was like, oh my gosh, it was so intense. Yeah. I was like, what was I missing all this time? It was it was intense. Like when I brought God into my body, I was just like, boom, like crazy. I did this, I cried. I was just like bawling with tears. Like it was amazing.
You're connected to source, all that is unconditionally loving and with no animosity or threat of the omnipotent God, do what I say, you're going to go to hell, that type of thing. And this time you connected to, I could see you being very emotional about that, and that is beautiful. And you bring that to your own clients. So I do want to ask you this: you work with a number of people. Is it possible, do you think it's possible for someone to spontaneously heal once an experience of a clearing of an emotional or energetic field and blockages?
I do believe it. I mean, and I've seen it, and I've been, this kind of hits home for me as well, because I have two family members, one that's going through a massive brain tumor right now, and another one that just had their colon removed because of so much trauma. And you have to be willing to accept this work and want to do it. If you a lot of times people don't want to maybe see this as not, it might not be aligned with their belief systems, right? So, and it might be hard for them to understand how this works. And so we've been so trained to go the traditional routes, to go through chemo, to go through massive surgeries, to do these, to take out body parts, to do these things. But the trauma is still in the body. And so I do believe, I guess going back to your question, I do believe that we can spontaneously heal, and I've seen it, and I've worked with it. And myself, I know with even my own body, I've been able to pull myself out of quite a few diseases I was manifesting myself, and allergies I was manifesting myself. And sometimes, again, like I say, it's very complex, and sometimes it is a little more simple. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty fascinating. Like I've these two family members of mine that they have opened up to my work, and I have been able to work with them and
Nice.
I think as people came, it's about, I think sometimes about getting to that deepest and that darkest place in your life till you like get to that place of surrender, and then you're like, I have not, nothing is working for me. Nothing is like the doctors are making it worse. Every medicine I take is making me nauseous and vomit and having every single adverse reaction, and I'm not getting better. And I'm, this radiation is only going to be like 7% effective or something, and it's like you get to that deepest point, and you're giving the control, you're giving your power away to somebody else. You're giving the power away to the doctors maybe, or to medicine or something like that. And it's really about empowering our own self and really taking that power back, that our bodies are strong. Our bodies are, it's constantly, our cells are constantly regenerating and healing. And we have like a whole new body within 7 years. I mean, each body part, regenerates, certain, some do it in a couple hours, some do it in 2 weeks, some do it in 3 months. Each body part regenerates on its own. And so we know that our body naturally heals. It's just giving it the right environment and giving it the right nutrients and the right things that our bodies need to really heal itself.
I've read a few times in A Course in Miracles specifically that some people with their illnesses and their physical maladies, actually create it as their identity of who they are. They're so identified with their illnesses. Well, I'm a cancer patient. That's who I am. I'm cancer, or, I have chronic diseases, whatever. I mean, just as an example. And it's said that they will not spontaneously heal, because if they do, it'll actually be such a big shock to them that they actually may not survive a spontaneous, because their complete identity is shattered in a moment. And that's really something to think about.
Yeah. And that's going along with the belief work that we were talking about before. Again, going back to that, so that, a lot of times diseases, especially even like breast cancer, a lot of times there's specific diseases that we even manifest. We may, our bodies may actually manifest them because it's going to bring our family together. It's going to create that bond and call everybody back to us. Or maybe, as a child, sickness was a way to get attention. So we can create these diseases, based off these belief systems. And a lot of, sometimes, you can ask yourself, this is one question you can do at home, and you can ask yourself, if you are dealing with something, you can ask yourself, how is this disease serving me? Because there's always a reason why. And if you dig in there a little bit deep enough, there might be a reason why that disease is actually serving you. And when you can identify that and let that go, and then clear it out and really start to realize that you don't need that in order to create happiness, or you don't need that disease in order to, have your family love you, or whatever it may be.
You actually have a realization, well, this disease or this physical issue is no longer serving me. It has no, so I let you go. I do want to ask this. I know you're a mom, and I was wondering if you're able to help your own kids understand what you teach and practice to help them bypass future blockages, negative paradigms, so they can avoid both mental and physical issues on their own lives. Is that something that you're able to work with? I don't know how old your kids are or how many you have.
Yes, so that's such an amazing question, because I'm really passionate about that. And my kids are 5 and 6, so they're young.
Wow.
But yeah, I know, right? 2 little ones. That's why it's been a little hectic around the house. But
I can barely deal with a cat.
I know, right? So I teach my kids a lot, and my son especially is incredibly intuitive. He's way more powerful than I am. I mean, his energy, and just like the other day, something happened. Okay, so the other night, my husband was sick for a really long time, and my kids have been sleeping in my bed, and I was lying there in the bed, and I was doing some healing for him, because he had a lot of congestion in his head, and a lot of grief, and a lot of stuff attached to his father, and all sorts of things that were going on. And I wasn't saying it out loud. I was just, sending him energies and doing this for him. And he was lying on the floor, because he likes to sleep on the floor. And he came up to me and he kissed my lips, and he was like, "Mommy, thank you. I love you." And I was just like, oh, and he was just so, and I was like, "Can you feel that?" And he's like, and he just was like snuggling up. He's like, "Mommy, you feel so good." So he knows, and he feels it all the time. Like he had an ear infection, and every night he was like, "Mommy, do your healing for me. Do your healing for me." He loves it. The kids are so responsive to energy work, because they love the feeling of it, and they haven't created those belief systems. They haven't created that trauma energy yet.
Right.
I mean, they maybe have some, the ancestral or past life stuff, but there's definitely a lot less, and the veil is much thinner, right? And so they're very tuned into the energy. And he tells me all the time, like, "Mommy, you feel so good right now." Or if I just, when I come back from the hospital, I clear my energy, because one time I forgot, and I came home, and he was just like, zzz, like he was just like wired, like running around, and like, and I recognized right away that I had forgot to clear myself from leaving the hospital. And he felt the energies that, from the denseness there. And I cleared myself right away. And that second I did that, he sat down, he was relaxed.
Wow. This is amazing. We
very, very intuitive kids. And I do, I guess, going back to your question, and I know there's a lot of trauma, passed down from both myself and my husband's side. And I am doing this for my children. Like, I really am. I'm like, this is part of my passion. I don't want my children to carry any of my trauma energy that's been passed down on my side, and, his father's side. There's, a lot of stuff. And this is what I feel like I'm being called to do. And I feel like so many of us light workers and so many of the children that are coming on this planet right now are so tuned in. And I feel like they have been here so many times before, and are ready to clear it and step into this higher, this new vibration that we're stepping into. Well, I really believe it.
This is awesome. We have been talking with Ruth Hermida of San Diego, California, who is I love your passion. It's obvious how passionate you are about it. You're so tuned in to spiritual healing and energy from source, and the world is better for it. I do have to ask you this, and this is a question I ask almost everybody on this show. It's the main question. With everything that's going on in the world, the world is involved in total chaos and untruths and wars and you name it, just like always throughout all of mankind, but seemingly it's more apparent now because of the global connectedness. But why do you think that now more than ever the people of the world are awakening to all things enlightening, spiritual, and metaphysical? Why now?
Well, that's a really good question. I mean, I think that I see consciousness I see us as interconnected, and I see consciousness as interconnected. We're all part of everything. We're all part of the whole. And I do feel like certain traumas, and maybe it has to do with the alignment of, stuff going on with the planets, could be something related to that, but I do see the way things are aligned that, and then again with the virus that was here, and then the all the trauma energy that we were experiencing. When people go into, I think when we have experiences like that is when it really challenges us. And it really kind of allows us to stop and stop playing the wheel that we've been running on, just kind of playing the mundane like life, just doing this and doing that and not really thinking about it. And I think it really challenged a lot of people. And I do feel like the light workers here have teamed up together and are really interconnected. And because of consciousness being so interconnected, more and more people are connected into this field of information that's being spread throughout consciousness. And I do think there's a much more complexity to it, and I don't fully understand it. I can't say that I fully understand it, but I do know that there is, I think there are parallels to, what may be going on, up in space and through the planets and how things are aligned up and how other things have, when we've had other wars in the world, how things have been kind of lined up in the frequency of the planet and stuff like that. And we do, I guess that would be, and I do feel like also with certain frequencies, possibly with 5G, all these, what's being put into our bodies, there's just a lot of connections. I don't know how to like put it all together, but I know there's a lot of things.
I'm sitting up here and out in the cosmos myself right now, as you see.
I know.
So I can verify the planets part, but what everything you just said, I completely am in alignment with you. I think that humanity, after eons and eons and eons of being suppressed and forced into certain paradigms and ways of thinking, all negative and disempowering, mankind is finally saying, enough, there has got to be something better. And there is, and everything you've talked about today is that. And this is just amazing. We're going to wind up here. Ruth Hermida, again, you live in San Diego. This is what you're doing, a beautiful energy healer. I know you don't have a website. Do you work strictly one-on-one with patients in San Diego? Can people contact you and work with you online? Or?
Yeah, so I work a lot with one-on-one with my clients. I do, they can connect with me through Facebook and through Instagram.
Yeah,
I am. I have my own Facebook page
and Instagram.
And Instagram. I have, it's kind of I do still love doing dental hygiene. I try to uplift my patients in hygiene and educate them as well on this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I do, some of my patients are, tuned into the energies. And so I will do that with their cleanings as well. So I kind of bring it in a little bit there.
Yeah.
And I am a mom, so I have like a lot of stuff going on, but I really do love working with clients one-on-one. So that's been my go-to lately.
Well, you better watch out. Being on this show, you might get contacting you. I have a lot of listeners in India and around the globe. So Romania, you name it.
Yes, and I do sorry. So I do Zoom. So I do a Zoom call like you're having here. And then what I can do for my clients, which is amazing, is I can, work through the healing and create a healing meditation for the client. And it's actually I'll actually send it to them, to their email, or send it to them however they need it, or however they can get it. And they can listen to it over and over. And every time you listen, it just kind of works on, peeling away those layers and really going deeper into the body and really getting the body back into harmony. So that's another thing I love about it, versus sometimes like if I go to my acupuncturist, I have to go physically and I have to go like twice a week or once a week. This is something that's really strong. It's got so much energy in it. And, I give you the recording and it empowers you and you get to listen to it over and over.
That's awesome. Would you like to, are you willing to give out your email so people might connect with you?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. You can email me as well. It's Ludwig Ruth. So it's LUDWIG and then Ruth, RUTH, and the number 1 at Gmail and gmail.com. And you can get a hold of me that way. And I'm on Open Heart Coaching LLC on Facebook, on my Facebook page, or under Ruth Hermida. You can look me up that way on Facebook. And I think RH.Hermida on Instagram, Ruth Hermida, RH, and then .Hermida.
Very awesome. This has been great. Thank you so much, Ruth, for talking to World Awakening. Yeah. It's been a blessing to have you on the show. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was wonderful.
This has been another episode of World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with your host, Carl Gruber, a certified law of attraction life coach. We welcome you to tune in each and every episode of this podcast, World Awakenings, as we open your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that all the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to the truth of all things metaphysical and spiritual, and just how they play an all-important role in our moment-to-moment everyday life. Much love and light to you, my friend. Thank you for tuning in.